Whatever. What's up, guys? Spinning Mac Attack here, and we are live. We are live, I think. Yes, we are. What's up? Spinning Mac Attack here, and we're going to be studying. There it is, perfect. Check my audio. Oh. Alright, that should be better. Well, what is up, guys? We're going to be studying fuel systems, aircraft fuel systems tonight. Isn't that exciting? Cool. It's all looking good. I was trying to stream on Rumble as well, but I was having a little bit of trouble with that because I haven't streamed on there before, I don't think. So, I don't know. I'll try to be a little more prepared next time. But yeah, let's get on with this study sesh. We've got aircraft fuel systems, 114 questions in this question bank. We're going to go through all of them tonight, hopefully twice. I really don't want to go past midnight, but it might turn out that way. I've got the live chat pulled up here, so I can see you guys' comments and questions. Where's the fuel? Let's get into it. Where's the fuel pressure taken? So this is my first time seeing these questions, I think. So I'm not going to know most of them. Where's the fuel pressure taken for the pressure warning signal on most aircraft engines? Outlet side of the boost pump, fuel pressure line of the carburetor, between the fuel pump and strainer. It's the, I think between the fuel pump, no. Oh, this fuel pressure line of the carburetor. Fuel pressure warning signal used with most aircraft engines is taken from the fuel pressure line that goes to the inlet of the carburetor. Okay. A fuel pressure warning switch contacts close and warning light is turned on when a measured quantity of fuel has passed through it. No. The fuel flow stops, probably. The fuel pressure drops below specified limits. Maybe. Probably C. Yep. The type of fuel boost pump that separates air and vapor from the fuel before it enters the line to the carburetor is the I really don't know. Let's say centrifugal boost pumps normally have a small agitator or a small propeller that spins when the pump impeller is turning to separate the vapor from the fuel before the fuel enters the lines to the carburetor. Okay, centrifugal type pump separates the air and vapor from the fuel before it enters the line. Which gas is used for purging an aircraft fuel tank? Probably helium or argon. I have no idea. Carbon dioxide can be used to purge an aircraft fuel tank of fuel vapors. Okay, good to know. Let's see. Let me take my audio one more time. Alright, now my mic should be louder. A little bit. Alright, sorry. What flight safety related advantage does a pressure fueling system provide? A pressure fueling system with the weight and balance limitations. I don't know. Reduces the chances for fuel contamination. No. Reduces the time required for fueling. No. Oh no. It reduces the chance for fuel contamination. Pressure fueling of an aircraft reduces the chances of fuel contamination, as well as reducing the danger of static electricity igniting fuel vapors. Okay. Fuel heaters are used with fuel systems for turbine engines to prevent probably moisture. No, ice crystals. Okay, ice crystals. When defueling an aircraft, which of the following must be accomplished? Defuel inside the hangar with fire suppression if is available. Defuel outside the hangar when possible. Always defuel outside the hangar. It's probably always defuel outside the hangar. Yep. A fuel pressure relief valve is required on an aircraft. Positive displacement pump, centrifugal boost fuel pump, positive displacement fuel pump, and centrifugal boost pump. I'm going to say both. Nope. Required for positive displacement aircraft fuel pump. Positive displacement, okay. In some aircraft with several fuel tanks, the possible danger of allowing the fuel supply in one tank to become exhausted before the selector valve is switched to another tank is prevented by the installation of a fuel pressure warning system. Probably, yeah. What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Welcome. Which of the following tests can determine an aviation gasoline's tendency to vapor lock? I haven't heard of any of these. True vapor pressure test. The Reid vapor pressure of a fuel is the measure of the fuel's tendency to vapor lock. Okay. Which of the following statements is true? A fuel heater cannot use engine bleed air as a source of heat. A fuel heater can use engine lubricating oil as a source of heat. That can't be true. That just can't be. A fuel heater cannot use engine lubricating oil as a source of heat. That has to be true. That's not true. Can use... Oh, wow. It's the opposite of what I thought. A fuel heater can also use engine bleed air as a source of heat. Okay. Which of the following may be used for the repair of fuel leaks on most integral fuel tanks? Riveting and resealing. Why are centrifugal type boost pumps used in fuel systems of aircraft operating at high altitude? To supply fuel under pressure to engine-driven pumps, because they're positive displacement pumps. Not C. Not C. Not Nazi. Why are centrifugal type boost pumps used in fuel systems of aircraft operating at altitude? Probably B. Yep. What type of fuel booster pump requires a pressure relief valve? Centrifugal. No. A sliding vane fuel pump requires a pressure relief valve because it is a constant displacement pump. Okay. About a tenth of the way through with these questions. One advantage of an electrical and electronic fuel quantity indicating system is that the indicators are calibrated in gallons, therefore no conversion is necessary. I don't know, maybe only one transmitter and one indicator are needed regardless of the number of tanks. Maybe several fuel tank levels can be read on one indicator. That's probably true. Yep. Which of the following precautions is most important during refueling operations? All electrical switches must be in the off position. Yes. No. Fuel to be used must be appropriately identified. Well, that's important. All outside electrical sources must be disconnected from the aircraft. But the most important is fuel must be appropriately identified, of course. Use the right fuel. That makes sense. Use the right fuel. The location of leaks. Let me get a drink. The location of leaks and defects within the internal portions of the fuel system can usually be determined by observing the pressure gauge. Yeah. As a general rule, which statement is true regarding fuel leaks? Sustained seeps and heavy seeps are not flight hazards. No. All fuel leaks, regardless of location or severity, are considered a hazard to flight. Maybe strained seeps and heavy seeps are considered flight hazards. Yeah, probably C. Yeah. When inspecting a fuel system with the aviation mechanic should check all valves located downstream of boost pump with the pumps operating. Yeah. What is used in many aircraft to prevent bubbles in the fuel after it leaves the tank when the atmospheric pressure is lower than the fuel vapor pressure? Air fuel separators, not boost pumps. Installed in many aircraft fuel tanks have an agitator on their shaft along with the impeller. The agitator causes bubbles in the fuel to be released into the tank before the fuel is forced into the fuel line. So the boost pump will hold the pressure on the fuel in the lines to prevent additional vapors from forming. Okay. 2/10 of the way down, 1/5 of the way down, kind of. How is the outlet fuel pressure regulated on a submerged single-speed centrifugal type fuel pump? The outlet fuel pressure regulated on a submerged. I don't know, I'm just going to guess. By the pump's design and internal clearances. Okay. Why is the capacitance fluid quantity indicating system more accurate in measuring fuel than a mechanic? Hold type. Why is the capacitance fluid quantity indicating system more accurate in measuring fuel level than mechanical type? It measures in gallons second versus pounds. No. It measures weight instead of volume. Maybe only one probe and one indicator are necessary for multiple tank configurations. I think it's C. Measures volume, not weight. No, it measures weight, not volume. What is one purpose of a fuel tank vent? To decrease fuel vapor pressure. Maybe. What is to maintain atmospheric pressure? No. No. To decrease tank internal air pressure? Let's go with that. No. It was to maintain atmospheric pressure on top of the fuel in the tank to provide for the proper fuel flow from the tank to the engine. Man, got it wrong. Okay. To maintain atmospheric pressure is the right answer. How many vents arranged so that they are not likely to become plugged at the same time must be used in multi-engine fuel systems? I don't know. Let's go with 4. Nope. At least 2 vents. 2. Okay. When moving the mixture control on a normally operating engine into the idle cutoff position, mixture control, the engine RPM should slightly increase before the engine starts to die. Which of the following would be most useful to locate and troubleshoot an internal fuel leak in an aircraft fuel system? Orthographic projection troubleshooting tree? No. Maintenance manual diagrams and descriptions? Maybe structure repair manual? Well, B might be true. Let's go with B. Orthographic projection. Nope. It's maintenance manual, diagrams, and descriptions. Oh my goodness. How time flies when you're having none. What type of remote reading fuel quantity indicating system has several probes installed in each fuel tank? Let me go with electronic. Let's go. A digital fuel totalizer automatically indicates the amount of fuel used. Fuel remaining, current rate of consumption, and fuel remaining. Well, it's not C because it already said fuel remaining. I think it's B. Oh, it was A. Should have known. Fuel totalizer does all that stuff. Okay. And an electronic, we're going to zoom through these. Okay. We're going to zoom. In an electronic type fuel quantity indicating system, the tank sensing unit is a it's a capacitor. When routing a fuel line between two rigidly mounted fittings, the line should have at least one bend between such fittings, be a straight length of tubing and clamped to the aircraft structure. Have a flexible line added. No. I think you should have at least one bend. Yeah, sure. Which of the following statements is true? A fuel pressure gauge is not a differential pressure indicator. A fuel pressure gauge indicates the pressure of the fuel entering the carburetor. No. Fuel pressure gauge indicates the pressure of the fuel entering the combustion chamber. I don't think so. Well, it was B. Fuel pressure gauge indicates the pressure of the fuel entering the carburetor. Which of the following statements is true? Gas turbine engine fuel systems are not susceptible to the formation of ice in the fuel filters. I think that is false. A fuel heater operates as a heat dispenser to cool the fuel. A heat disperser. What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream. If you're just joining, we are studying maxing for airframe. Specifically, aircraft fuel systems. 30 questions into 114 questions. So yeah, got a little ways to go. And we're going to take this twice, probably. But the second time usually goes by a lot faster because I have just memorized them after the first time. But this is my first time taking this study session test. Sorry. Which of the following statements is true? A fuel heater operates as a heat disperser to cool the fuel. No. Gas turbine engine fuel systems are very susceptible to the formation of ice on the fuel filters. It might be B, actually. I'll go with B. No, it's C. They are very susceptible, gas turbine engines, to the formation of ice. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm tired. When fuel quantity is measured in pounds instead of gallons, the measurement will be more accurate because fuel volume varies with temperature change. Is true. Which procedure must be followed when defueling aircraft with swept-back wings? Defuel all the tanks at one time? No. Defuel the outboard wing tanks first. Yeah. Defuel the outboard ones first. What should be used to remove flux from an aluminum tank after welded repairs? Probably, I don't know, 5%. No. Mild solution of soap and warm water? No. B, 5% solution of nitric or sulfuric acid. Flapper valves are used in fuel tanks to act as check valves. Is correct. What unit is generally used to actuate the fuel pressure warning system? The fuel pressure gauge is not true. Pressure sensitive mechanism. Obviously. I'm going to make a little cocktail here. So I have grape flavored Propel water. That much left. And then I have regular water. And I'm going to mix them. And this will be the serum that keeps me awake for the next hour and 21 minutes. And it will make me get all the questions correct. Yes, I can taste the life already. Oh my goodness, I need to shave. I don't know if you can tell. Can you tell? Maybe a little bit. Let's see. Ah, yes. That's so good. Okay, what unit is generally used to accurately pressure sensitive mechanism? Sensitive. I'm not saying any words right. At this unheavenly hour. At this unholy hour. I can't stop yawning. But the study maxing last night that I live streamed, that helped me a lot in class today. Because we talked about what I studied last night in class today. And so I was prepared. I've never been more prepared for class. So he was asking questions and stuff, and I just knew the answers to most of them. So that felt good. Maybe that can happen again if I can get through these questions tomorrow. Many fuel tanks away from the boost pump or tank outlet when the aircraft is in high G maneuver. Check valves. No. Flapper valves. Okay, whatever. What is the maximum vapor pressure allowable for an aircraft fuel? 3 psi, 5 psi, 7 psi. Okay. Fuel jetting. Fuel jettisoning past the limits prescribed by FAR is usually prevented by dump limit valves or a low-level circuit. Yes. What's next? The presence of fuel stains around a fuel nozzle would indicate clogged fuel nozzle, too much fuel pressure, probably A. Oh, I thought it was C. It is C, but I hit A. A clogged fuel nozzle. A typical large transport aircraft fuel manifold system allows which of the following? A damaged tank can be isolated from the rest of the fuel system. Probably. I don't know. Engines can be fed only from a specific tank. Probably, I don't know. Tanks must be serviced through multiple connections. Probably. Not. Probably not A. Engines can be fed from a specific tank. Isolated. I'm gonna say B. Nope. It's C. I'm an idiot. Retard. I'm an idiot. A typical large transport aircraft fuel manifold system allows which of the following? We just went over that one. A damaged tank can be isolated. I'm sorry for the yawning. A fuel totalizer is a component which indicates the total amount of fuel being consumed by all engines is not true. Amount of fuel at any given tank is not true. Amount of fuel in all tanks is the correct answer. Why is it necessary to vent all aircraft fuel tanks? To limit pressure differential between the tank and the atmosphere. A fuel jettison system is required under certain conditions if the maximum takeoff weight exceeds the maximum landing weight. What regulations cover the requirements of fuel jettisoning? I don't know. Let's go with parts 23 and 25. That's correct. A probe or a series of probes is used in what kind of fuel quantity indicating system? Capacitor. Yes. The electronic type fuel quantity indicating system consists of a bridge circuit. And a tank and an amplifier and indicator. Oh, an amplifier, indicator, and a tank unit. That's so similar to the one I hit, but it's different. What is the purpose of a float-operated transmitter installed on a fuel tank? It sends an electrical signal to the fuel quantity indicator. Fuel-operated transmitter, a float-operated transmitter installed in the fuel tank. It senses the dielectric quantities of fuel and air in the tank. I think that's not right. It senses actually number A. It sends an electrical signal to the fuel quantity indicator. Do you think cocktail comes from the word concoction? If that's true, then where does the tail come from? Concoction tail? I've never heard that word before. So, that's what a cocktail is, though. It's a concoction or a mixture of different things, right? So, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. These are the thoughts that I think when I am laying in bed and half asleep, waiting to fall into dreamland. Unwillingly. Is it willingly, though? Which statement concerning an electronic capacitance fuel quantity indicating system is true? It has no moving parts in the tank. Yeah, let's go with that. That's true. What should be used to inert an integral fuel tank before attempting repairs? CO2. CO2, yes. To prevent vapor lock in fuel lines at high altitudes. Some aircraft are equipped with booster pumps. Yes. I knew that one for sure. Pressure fueling of aircraft is usually accomplished through individual fuel tank overwing and or fuselage access points. That sounds right. It's not. It's at least one single point connection. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay. Why are integral fuel tanks used in many large aircraft? To reduce weight. True. The fuel jettison valve must be designed to allow flight personnel to close the valve at any time, and the fuel must discharge clear of the aircraft. Or to discharge the fuel clear of the aircraft, or to close the valve at any time. Let's go with A for both. That's correct. Oh yeah. So what method would be used to check for internal leakage of a fuel valve without removing the valve from the aircraft? Apply regulated air pressure on the downstream side of the fuel pump and listen for the air passing through the valve. It sounds pretty correct, but it's not. That's it. Place the valve in the off position. Drain the strainer bowl, and with boost pump on, watch to see if fuel flows to the strainer bowl. Of course. Which of the following would give us the first positive indication that a change over from one fuel tank to another is needed? A fuel pressure warning is correct. If a bladder type fuel tank is to be left empty for an extended period of time, the inside of the tank should be coated with a film of ethylene glycol. Not true. Engine oil. If a rubberized fabric bladder tank is to remain empty for an extended period of time, It should be cleaned out thoroughly and its interior covered with a film of clean engine oil. Okay. Can I have fries with that, please? We have made it halfway through this study session, and it's taken 53 minutes. About 53 minutes. How long have we been on here? No, it's been like 40 minutes. We've been on here 40 minutes, and I've gotten through 57 questions. And I'm sorry for the sniffliness, but there's 114 questions in this section halfway through. Let's keep on trucking. Thanks for joining the stream. If you're looking to study for airframe, you have come to the right place, because that is what I am doing and will be doing until midnight. The vapor pressure of aviation gasoline is lower than the vapor pressure of automotive gasoline. I don't know. The vapor pressure, I actually couldn't tell you what that even is. Vapor pressure is limited to a maximum of 7 psi, which is lower than the vapor pressure of many. Okay, I might have said lower. Let's just say lower. The primary purpose of a fuel tank sump is to provide a place for contaminants and water to settle with a drain valve to remove the impurities. B is correct. According to Part 23, what minimum required markings must be placed at or near each approximate fuel filler cover to reciprocating engine powered airplanes? The word fuel and usable fuel capacity. The word avgas and minimum fuel grade is the real answer. The word avgas, minimum fuel grade. Okay. On a large aircraft pressure refueling system, a pressure refueling receptacle and control panel will permit one person to fuel or defuel any of the tanks on the aircraft. True. Fuel boost pumps are operated primarily for fuel transfer. I'm getting her done. Oh, I'm getting her done. For sure. I'm halfway through this. A little over halfway through this first test. Fuel boost pumps are operated to provide a positive flow of fuel to the engine. Maybe. I think, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Overthinking it over here. An electrical type fuel quantity indicating system consists of an indicator in the flight deck and a float in the tank that moves a connecting arm to the wiper on a variable resistor. Yes, that's correct. The float is in the tank. It moves the connecting arm to the wiper on a variable resistor in the tank. The purpose of a diaphragm in a vane type fuel pump is to diaphragm? I don't know. Diaphragm? Isn't that like a human body part? In the body of a human? The diaphragm? Let me see this. Check this out. I'm pretty sure it is. Human let me just look up diaphragm. Diaphragm. I spelled it wrong. I knew I would. I knew it. I don't want the AI overview. I knew it. Diaphragm is a human body part, and they're trying to get me to believe that it's in an airplane. Whatever. The purpose of the diaphragm in a vane type fuel pump is to compensate fuel pressure to altitude changes, vary fuel pressure according to throttle setting, equalize fuel pressure at all speeds. Yes. No. Diaphragm is used to compensate the fuel pressure as altitude changes. That was going to be my second answer. So I basically got it right. A transducer in a fuel pressure system serves what function? A transducer in a fuel pressure system serves what function? Guys, help me out here. What does the transducer in a fuel pressure system serve? What function? I think it... Let's think. What's the root word trans mean? Let's figure this out. Root word trans meaning. Okay, let's see here. That meaning across, through, or beyond. Oh my gosh, that's a trans flag. That's not what I'm looking for. I should have known that would came up. That doesn't even help me at all, though. Everyday descriptions of separation. The process of moving from one state to another to undergo a significant change in form or nature. To carry, it means across. Okay. And then deucer, what is deucer? What is deucer in a word? That doesn't even make sense. Let me just ask, what is a transducer? A transducer is a device that converts energy from one form to another. Oh, that makes sense. It goes across. It's like a trans material because it changes forms, like a transgender. Yes, let me switch back to prep. Prep where? Okay. Let's get some W's in the chat. If you're loving this stream, smash the like button and crush the subscribe button and kill the comment section. And share and stuff. Hit the notification bell. A transducer in a fuel pressure system serves what function? Converts, that makes sense, converts fluid pressure directly through a transmitter to the indicator. See, if I hadn't looked up the definition of transducer, I would have thought definitely it was either A or B. Because it says trans in the first part of the word, and it says transmit, which is, all they look the same. Okay, fuel system components must be bonded and grounded in order to drain off static charges. Oh my gosh. We're on question number 67. We're on question number 67. I can't think anymore. Fuel is moved overboard in the most fuel jettison systems by gravity. Not. It's by boost pumps. Duh. It's by boost pumps. Fuel is moved overboard in most fuel jettison systems by boost pumps. Duh. Some turbine-powered aircraft have a fuel temperature indicator located in the flight deck to aircraft pressure indicator. Ascertain the amount of fuel on board the aircraft when the ice starts to form in the fuel tank. No. Monitor the fuel temperature. No. Monitor the fuel flow in the event that ice crystals form. No. I guess it is B. Monitor the fuel temperature during high altitude flight. Oh, I read it wrong. I read pressure. Fuel pressure indicator. I'm a freaking idiot. Some turbine-powered aircraft have a fuel temperature indicator to monitor It's the most obvious answer. Excuse me for a moment. I'm back. Welcome back to the stream, guys. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy to be here with you. We are all alive. We are alive and in this world. Unless, of course, you are an AI bot that is watching the stream. But I don't think they have those on YouTube. So, we're good on that. A drip gauge may be used to measure system leakage when the system shuts down. That kind of makes sense. Let's see. Nope, it's not either of those. The amount of fuel in the tank. The drip gauge is used to measure the quantity of fuel in a fuel tank when the aircraft is on the ground. Okay. Next question. I don't know if we're going to be able to take this test twice. It's almost midnight. And I said I wanted to stop at midnight. Let's just keep going and see what happens. Which of the following is necessary to effectively troubleshoot a fuel pressure warning system? The manufacturer's maintenance manuals? Maybe? Yeah, let's go with that. Yep. If it is necessary to enter an aircraft's fuel tank, which procedure should be avoided? Station an assistant outside the tank to perform rescue operations if required. No. Conduct the defueling and take purging operation in an air-conditioned building. No. Continue purging the tank during the entire work period. That's the one. Not. Which procedures should be avoided? I thought that was it, but it's all defueling and purging must be done outside. Oh. Not in any building. Air conditioned or otherwise. Oh, I didn't catch that part. The air conditioning part got me. What is the medium distance allowed between a fuel tank and the firewall separating the engine? I don't know. 2 inches? 1/2 inch of clearance. Okay. What is the purpose of flapper type check valves in integral fuel tanks? To allow the engine-driven pumps to draw fuel directly from the tank if the boost pump fails. Not. It's actually to prevent fuel from flowing away from the boost pumps. The primary purpose of an aircraft fuel jettison system is to quickly achieve a balanced fuel load. Not. It's a lower landing weight. A lower landing weight is the correct answer. Why is the main fuel strainer located at the lowest point in the fuel system? Because it traps any amount of water that may be present in the fuel system. Yes, that is correct. I just know it. What is the dielectric or non-conducting material in a capacitance type fuel quantity indicating system? Fuel and air in the tank. I mean, yes. Before fueling an aircraft by using the pressure fueling method, what important precautions should be observed? The truck pump pressure must be correct for that refueling system. The truck pump pressure must be adjusted for minimum filter pressure. The aircraft's electrical system must be on to indicate I think is right. Yes. What is the primary purpose? It measures stuff and converts that to electrical signals. You're probably talking about question 75. No, 76. Alright, see you later. Transducer? Yeah, that's what a transducer does. Measures stuff and converts it to electrical signals. Thanks, guys. If you're just joining the stream, I'm glad you're here. We are studying for AIRFRAME, as you saw in the thumbnail and title, aircraft fuel systems. Oh, I missed 11:11. I could have wished for this to all be over right now. What is the primary purpose of the crossfeed system? It bypasses the engine shutoff valve. No. It allows any tank to supply fuel to any engine. Yes. Normal fuel cross-feed system operation in multi-engine aircraft provides a means to maintain balanced fuel load condition. Yes. I just happened to read that one first, and it was right. We're about 3/4 of the way there. Let's finish this. Microbial growth is produced by various forms of microorganisms that live and multiply in the water interfaces of jet fuels. Which of the following could result in microbial growth if microbial growth exists in a jet fuel tank? Interference with fuel flow, interference with fuel quantity indicators, maybe, and electrolytic corrosive action in melt tank. Yes or no in a rubber tank. I'm going to go with C because I think that I'm an idiot. Okay, the answer is A. Interference with fuel flow, interference with fuel quantity indicators, and electrolytic corrosive action in a metal. Tank. What markings must be placed on or near each appropriate fuel filter cover on standard category aircraft? The word avgas and minimum fuel grade. That was a question from earlier that I got wrong. Integral fuel tanks on transport aircraft are easily removed or for service or inspection. No, supported by the aircraft structure. That's correct. They're integral for a reason because they're not easily removable. The probe of a capacitance type fuel level gauge is essentially it's a capacitor with fuel and air acting as the dielectric. The function of a fuel heater is to protect the fuel from freezing, protect the engine fuel system from ice formation. That's like the same thing. That's the same thing. Freezing means ice formation, okay? My goodness. But it's A. It just is. A fuel system must be designed to prevent fuel vapor ignition caused by overheating. By lightning. Oh, I thought I was saying overheating. Okay. What unit would be adjusted to change the fuel pressure warning limits? The pressure sensitive mechanism. Why, of course. What can be done to eliminate or minimize the microbial growth problem in an aircraft jet fuel tank? Add CO2 as a purgative? No. Use anti-icing and antibacterial additives? Well, it sounds like it would make sense. Let's go with that. That's true. Let's go. A capacitance type fuel quantity indicating system measures fuel in gallons. No. In pounds. Okay. Because gallons is volume, not weight. So I knew it was weight, but I thought that gallons was weight for some reason at that point in time. A couple seconds ago. Yo, what's up, guys? One advantage of electrical and electronic fuel quantity indicating systems is that the indicator can be located any distance from the tanks. I guess that's true, but that could be with anything. Has no movable devices. I thought that was true, but it's A. Most modern aircraft use electrical indicating systems because of the ease of which the indicator can be located at a distance from the fuel tanks. Alright, whatever, sure. Alright, we can see the finish line. We got 24 questions till the end of this study session. What is the recommended practice for cleaning a fuel tank before welding? Probably flush the inside of the tank with clean water. Nope. It should be washed out with hot water and a detergent. Then the live steam should be passed through the tank for about half an hour. Steam? Wow. The stream that vaporizes and removes any residual fuel may be left in the tank. Interesting. Okay. Select one means of controlling the fuel temperature on turbine-powered aircraft. Sorry, I just zoned out. Forgot I was live. That was like daydreaming, literally. I was just thinking, what if Mr. Beast just like popped on here and donated like $100,000? That's what I was thinking, in case you were wondering. What would I do? I'd probably spend it all on select one means of controlling the fuel temperature on turbine-powered aircraft. Turbine bleeder to lead exchanger. What is one disadvantage of using aromatic aviation fuels? Deteriorates rubber parts. Why are jet fuels more susceptible to water contamination than aviation gasoline? Because C. Condensation is greater because of the higher volatility of jet fuels. Is not the correct answer. Jet fuels have higher viscosity than aviation gasoline. Because of the higher viscosity, contaminants such as water remain suspended in the fuel and do not settle to the fuel tank sumps. Good to know. Which aircraft fuel quantity indicating system incorporates a signal amplifier? Are you serious? A is electronic and C is electrical. Oh my goodness, they're the same freaking answer. So I figured I'll pick neither of them because they're both basically the same, but it was electronic. I should have known, I guess. Let's see. When an aircraft is fueled from a truck or fuel farm that has not been contaminated, daily draining of strainers and sumps is combined with periodic filter changes, inspection to ensure it's free. So yes, that's true. Purpose of the baffle plate in the fuel tank is to provide expansion space for the fuel, and not. It's actually to resist fuel surging within the fuel tank, whatever that means. The use of turbine fuels in aircraft has resulted in some problems not normally associated with aviation gasoline. One of these problems is higher vapor pressure, increasing the viscosity of fuel as fuel temperature lowers at altitude. Yeah. I think it's B or A. I want to say B. I knew it was A. No way. Is it actually C? It's C. Oh, wow. Isn't that a kick in the face? That's a kick in the face. It's C. I won't forget that. A transmitter in a fuel pressure warning system serves what function? Well, it transmits an electrical signal to transmits fluid pressure, an electrical signal to fluid pressure. But C makes more sense, so I'm gonna go with C. It's not C or A, it's B. A transmitter converts the pressure of the fuel into an electrical signal. I thought that was a transducer, but I guess a transmitter also does that. Entrained water in aviation turbine fuel is hazardous because of its susceptibility to freezing as it passes through the filters. What are common methods of preventing this hazard? Anti-icing additives and fuel heater. See. Yes, we're almost there. 14 questions left. Let's go, team. Fuel jettisoning is usually accomplished through individual outlets for each tank. Through a common manifold valve in each wing. Yeah. What is the purpose of the pump crossfeed valve? Ooh, a figure. Well, what is the purpose? So pressure can equalize or something? Balance the fuel in the tanks? B. Allow operation of engine from one tank? Oh, that makes total sense, actually. I didn't think about that. What method is used? Pause. Resume. One method is used on turbine-powered aircraft to determine when the condition of the fuel is approaching the danger of forming ice crystals. The fuel temperature indicator. Fuel baffles are installed in tanks to prevent surging caused by changes in the attitude of the aircraft. What is surging? I don't know still. How many engine-driven fuel pumps per engine are required for engines requiring fuel pumps? One fuel pump for each engine. Two engines can share one fuel pump? I don't think so. One fuel pump for each engine is true. An aircraft's integral fuel tank is a part of the aircraft structure. Yes. How does temperature affect fuel weight? Warm fuel is heavier per gallon. I think it has no effect. Colder. Oh, that makes sense. I wasn't thinking about it correctly. I was thinking about, like, if you have 10 gallons in a fuel tank and temperature changes, the weight will be the same. Let's say you have 60 pounds of weight. Okay, but the answer is colder fuel is heavier per gallon because the molecules are tighter together because it's colder. That's the way life is. Okay. Shamo how it is. Aircraft pressure fueling systems. Instructional procedures are normally placarded on the aircraft ground connection point, lower wing surface adjacent to cross the door, fuel control panel access door. Say aircraft ground connection. No, it's a fuel control panel cross access door. Which of the following is employed to maintain lateral stability when jettisoning fuel? Two separate independent systems. How do I know that? Don't ask me. What are the 4 general types of quantity gauges? Well, you have I think it's C, because electrical and electronic are like the same thing, right? It's like the same thing, so got electrical, direct reading, static pressure type, slight glass and a litmus indicator. I really just want to say C, but that's wrong. Wow, they're not the same. Okay. Electrical, electronic, sight glasses, and mechanical systems. A is correct. What's up? Welcome back. Same stuff is going on. I'm almost done though with the first test. When inspecting a removable rigid fuel tank for leaks, what procedure should be followed? Fill the tank with water and pressurize with air and brush with soapy water. No. Pressurize the tank with air and submerge in water to locate leaks. I don't think so. Let's say A. That's correct. Like SEAM. Use an acronym for question 109. Oh. SEAM. What are the 4 general types of quantity gauges? SEAM. I'll try to remember that. What must each fuel quantity indicator be calibrated to read during level flight when the quantity of fuel remaining is equal to the unusable fuel supply? The total unusable fuel quantity. It's 0. Each fuel quantity indicator must be calibrated to read 0 during level flight when the quantity of fuel remaining in the tank is equal to the unusable fuel supply. Okay, that makes sense. I just didn't think about it right. What precautions must be observed if a gravity-feed fuel system is permitted to supply fuel to an engine for more than one tank at a time? The tank airspaces must be interconnected. The fuel outlet ports of each tank must have the same cross-sectional area. Nah. Each tank must have a valve in its outlet that automatically shuts off the line when the tank is empty. That would be helpful. I don't know if it's necessary, though. Let's go with it's A. I mean, it's A. The tank airspaces must be connected. Alright, cool. How many anti-knock characteristics of a fuel can be improved? By adding a knock inhibitor would make sense, but that's true. Okay. When installing a rigid fuel line, ½ inch in diameter, at what intervals should the line be supported? I don't know. Let's go with 16 inches. That's correct. Cool. First test finished. And we made a 50.88 on it, which is just about the same grade that I made on yesterday's first test. So, what does that mean? I don't know. Well, they do say that if you guess on every question of a test, then you're going to get a 50 or something. I think I've heard that before. But I made educated guesses on every question, and some of them I was kind of confident in them. Some of them not, so whatever that means, we're going to... Yeah, I'm not really disappointed that it's 50. It's kind of expected. I guess it was the first one, kind of the first time I've seen these questions. So, let's run it back for 20 more minutes, 24 more minutes, and see how I can do this time. Alright. What is the purpose of the pump crossfeed valve? I already know. Allow operation of engine from one tank. Yes. Mix the two, guessing and trying. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. It was like an educated guess, so I was trying, but I was also guessing. In an electronic fueled quantity indicating system, the tank sensing unit is a capacitor. What must each fuel quantity indicator be calibrated to read during level flight when the quantity of fuel remaining is equal to the unusable fuel supply? 0. We just got that one. What markings must be placed on or near each appropriate fuel filler cover on standard category aircraft? The word avgas and minimum fuel grade. Fuel boost pumps are operated. Automatically from fuel pressure? No. To provide a positive flow to the engine? Yes. What method is used? We're 5 and 5, baby. Let's go. Let's take a drink to celebrate. What method is used on turbine? Forgot to mention, I'm trying to make an 85 or above. That's the grade I'm going for. So I need to get, I don't know exactly how many, like 87 questions right, maybe. Out of 114. So I'm going for 85. If I don't get it, then that's too bad, so sad. I'll try again another day. What method is used on turbine-powered aircraft to determine when the condition of the fuel is approaching danger forming ice crystals? The fuel temperature indicator. How does the temperature affect fuel weight? Cold fuel is heavier per gallon. Yes. The presence of fuel stains around fuel nozzle would indicate clogged fuel nozzle. Integral fuel tanks on transport aircraft are supported by the aircraft structure. The primary purpose of an aircraft's fuel jettison system is to quickly achieve a lower landing weight. An aircraft's integral fuel tank is part of the aircraft structure. Why are integral fuel tanks used in many large aircraft? I think I might have gotten this wrong last time. Why are integral fuel tanks? No, I think I got it right. To reduce weight. Yeah, let's go. What is the dielectric? Fuel and air in the tank. I remember that one. What is the maximum vapor pressure allowable for an aircraft fuel? 7 psi. The purpose, I meant to say you cannot mix the two. Well, maybe you can. Oh, I never had to guess at anything in my life. Yeah, we all know that's not true. You guesstimate at everything. Guesstimating, that's like your favorite thing to do, right? You have to guesstimate. I guesstimate on these questions all the time. The purpose of a diaphragm in a vane type fuel pump is to compensate fuel pressure to altitude changes. To prevent vapor lock in fuel lines at high altitude, some aircraft are equipped with booster pumps. A fuel pressure warning switch contacts close, and a warning light is turned on when the fuel pressure drops below specified limits. Which of the following statements is true? A fuel heater can use engine lubricating oil as source feed. That is true. If a bladder type fuel tank is to be left empty for an extended period of time, the inside of the tank should be coated with a film of clean engine oil. Why is the capacitance fluid quantity indicating system more accurate in measuring fuel than a mechanical type? Because it measures weight instead of volume. Yes, 20 and 20. Let's do this. What flight safety related advantage does a pressure fueling system provide? It's either A or B. Probably A. it's probably B actually. Yeah, it's probably B. Let's go. A drip gauge may be used to measure the amount of fuel in the tank. On a large aircraft pressure refueling system, a pressure refueling receptacle and control panel will permit one person to fuel or defuel any of the tanks on the aircraft. Many fuel tanks incorporate flapper valves to prevent fuel from flowing away from the boost pump or tank outlet when the aircraft is in high G maneuver. One advantage of electrical and electronic fuel quantity indicating systems is that several fuel tanks can be read on one indicator. No. Wait. Yes. I was thinking of another question. When routing a fuel line between two rigidly mounted fittings, the line should I think I got it right last time when I said A, have at least one bend between such fittings. Let's go with that again. Yes. What unit is generally used to actuate the pressure warning system? Fuel pressure warning system. The pressure sensitive mechanism. Yes. Microbial growth is produced by various forms of microorganisms that live and multiply in the water interfaces of jet fuels. Which of the following could result in microbial growth exists in a jet fuel? I remember this one. Interference with fuel flow, interference with fuel quantity indicators, electrolytic corrosive action in a metal tank. A. Yes, we're rocking and rolling. 28 and 28. Drop some W's in the chat. The function of a fuel heater is to protect the engine fuel system from ice formation. Did I just skip one? I did, and I accidentally got it right. Because the next one was also A. That's crazy. But let me read it anyways. The electronic type fuel quantity indicating system consists of a bridge circuit, a amplifier, an indicator, and a tank unit. Okay, I don't know if I would have remembered that, but I got it right accidentally. What is the recommended practice for cleaning a fuel tank before welding? Steam clean the tank interior. Yes. My neck is getting sore. According to Part 23, what minimum required markings must be placed at or near each appropriate fuel filler? The word avgas and the total fuel capacity? No. The word avgas and the minimum fuel grade? Yes. A. We got 13 minutes. Entrained water in aviation turbine fuel is a hazard because of its susceptibility to freezing as it passes through the filters. Work on methods of preventing this hazard. Anti-icing additives, fuel heating. Yeah. What is the purpose of the flapper type check valves in integral fuel tanks? To prevent fuel from flowing away from the boost pumps. Yes. When moving the mixture control on a normally operating engine to the idle cutoff, the engine should slightly increase before it starts to die. Fuel system components must be bonded and grounded in order to drain off static charges. If it is necessary to enter an aircraft's fuel tank, which procedures should be avoided? Conduct the defueling and tank purging in the building. How is the outlet fuel pressure regulated on a submerged single-speed centrifugal type fuel pump? By the pump's design and internal clearances. Why is it necessary to vent all aircraft's fuel tanks? To limit pressure differential between the tank and the atmosphere. What should be used? Let me read that one again. Yes. What should be used to inert an integral fuel tank before attempting repairs? CO2. I wasn't very sure about that, but that's right. 40 and 40. Awesome. A digital fuel totalizer automatically indicates the amount of fuel used, fuel remaining, current rate of consumption, and fuel weight aboard at takeoff. When fuel quantity is measured in pounds instead of gallons, the measurement will be more accurate because fuel volume will vary with temperature change. W. Flapper valves are used in fuel tanks to act as check valves. Which of the following is necessary to effectively troubleshoot a fuel pressure warning system? The manufacturer's maintenance manual. Yes. Which of the following precautions is most important during refueling operations? Fuel to be used must be appropriately identified. Yes. Select one means of controlling the fuel temperature on turbine-powered aircraft. Engine bleed air to heat exchanger. Yes. What is the minimum distance allowed between a fuel tank and the firewall separating the engine? 1/2 inch. How many vents arranged so that they are not likely to become plugged at the same time must be used in a multi-engine fuel system? 2. Which gas is used for purging an aircraft fuel tank? Carbon dioxide. Yes! I wasn't sure about that one. Which gas is used for purging? Yeah, carbon dioxide. We said that. Which of the following statements is true? Gas turbine engines are not susceptible to the formation of ice. That's not true. A fuel heater operates as a heat dispenser to cool the fuel. That might be right. Gas turbine, very susceptible. That's right. Gas turbine engine fuel systems are very susceptible to the formation of ice on the fuel filters. That's so true. When inspecting a removable rigid fuel tank for leaks, what procedure should be followed? A. Pressurize the tank with air and brush with soapy water. Yes. Wasn't so sure with that. We're 51-51. Almost halfway there. And 8 minutes left. What is used in many aircraft to prevent bubbles in the fuel after it leaves the tank when the atmosphere pressure is lower than fuel vapor pressure? Ugh. I think it's A. What is used in many aircraft to prevent bubbles? It might be C. Yeah, it's C. It's C. Oh, it's C. And fuel after it leaves the tank when the atmospheric pressure is lower, it's C. For sure. Yes, it is. When installing a rigid fluid line 1/2 inch diameter, at what intervals should that line be supported? 16 inches. That was the last question we had last test. The probe of a capacitance type fuel level gauge is essentially a capacitor with fuel and air acting as the dielectric. Yes. 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 An electrical type fuel quantity indicating system consists of an indicator in the flight deck and a float in the tank that moves the connecting arm to the wiper on a variable resistor in the tank is the right answer. When inspecting a fuel system, the aviation mechanic should check all the valves located downstream of the boost pump with the pumps operating. Which of the following statements is true? A fuel pressure gauge is not a differential pressure indicator. That's false. A fuel pressure gauge indicates the pressure of the fuel entering the carburetor. What is true? Which one is true? 54. I deduced it. Yes, get deduced. I'm going to have to deduce this one too. Which of the following is true? So that means 2 are wrong. One might be true, actually. A might be true. A fuel pressure gauge indicates the pressure of the fuel entering the combustion chamber. That's false. That's false. Fuel pressure gauge indicates the pressure of the fuel entering the carburetor. I think that's true. Let's go with B. Yes. Entering the carburetor. Yes. What should be used to remove flux from an aluminum tank after welded repairs? 5% solution of nitric or sulfuric acid. The fuel jettison valve must be designed to allow flight personnel to close the valve at any time, and the fuel must discharge clear of the aircraft. 57 seems like a huge basic fact of fuel and pressure. That's the one I wasn't really sure about. A fuel pressure gauge indicates the pressure of fuel. Yeah. You're probably right. Where does it measure the pressure? Right before it enters the carburetor, right? That's what it said. Right, yeah, as it enters carburetor. I think you're right. I need to remember that. In some aircraft with several fuel tanks, the possible danger... Oh, we're like halfway through, by the way. So, I'm going to have to go past midnight a little bit, but that's okay. In some aircraft with several fuel tanks, the possible danger of allowing the fuel supply in one tank to become exhausted before the valve switch to another tank is prevented by the installation of a fuel pressure warning system. Fuel jettisoning is usually accomplished through a common manifold and outlet in each wing. Which of the following would be most useful to locate and troubleshoot an internal fuel leak in an aircraft fuel system? Maintenance manual diagrams and descriptions. Some turbine-powered aircraft have a fuel temperature indicator located in the flight deck, too. B. Monitor the fuel temperature during high altitude flight. The type of fuel boost pump that separates air and vapor from the fuel before it enters the line to the carburetor is the centrifugal type pump. As a general rule, which statement is true regarding fuel leaks? Oh no. Gulp. Stains, seeps, and heavy seeps are considered flight hazards when located in unvet. Turbine rhymes with combine. I guess it depends how you say it. Turbine, combine, turbine, combine. I hear people say it different all the time in my class. I like saying turbine. But as a general rule, which statement is true regarding fuel leaks? I think it's B. They're all considered a hazard. Oh. First L. That's okay. Which statement is true? Considered flight hazards when located in unvented areas. Unvented. I think I actually picked that last time, but this time I picked something different. Fuel baffles are installed in tanks to prevent surging. What is one purpose of a fuel tank vent? To maintain atmospheric pressure. Nope, you're right. Unvented areas. Yeah, the unvented areas got me. One advantage of electrical and electronic fuel quantity indicating systems is that the indicator can be located any distance from the tanks. A transducer in a fuel pressure system serves what function? It converts fluid pressure directly through a transmitter to the indicator. Which of the following tests can determine the aviation gasoline tendency to vapor lock? The Reed vapor thing pressure test. A fuel pressure relief valve is required on an aircraft. Positive displacement. Fuel pump. Yes. The primary purpose of a fuel tank sump is to provide a place for contaminants. Where is fuel pressure taken for the pressure warning signal on most aircraft engines? It's the fuel pressure line of the carburetor. There we go again. The location of leaks and defects within the internal portions of fuel systems can usually be determined by observing the pressure gauge and operating the selector valves. What is the primary purpose of the crossfeed system? It allows any tank to supply fuel to any engine. It divides the fuel and sends it to the ejectors. Well, yes, but I don't remember pressing that last time. It allows any tank to supply fuel to any engine. Maybe. It bypasses the engine shutoff valve. I don't think so. It allows it allows, okay. The use of turbine fuels in aircraft has resulted in some problems not normally associated with aviation gasoline. One of these problems is microbial contaminants. Fuel heaters are used with fuel systems for turbine engines to prevent blank in the fuel from clogging system filters. Ice crystals. What are the 4 general types of fuel quantity gauges? Electrical, electronic, sight glass, and mechanical. Which statement concerning electronic capacitance sight fuel quantity indicating system is true? It has no moving parts. We're getting closer. When an aircraft is fueled from a truck or fuel farm that has not been contaminated, daily draining of strainers and sumps is combined with periodic filter changes and inspection to ensure the fuel is not contaminated. Fuel jettisoning past the limits prescribed by FARs is usually prevented by I'll go back to it. 77 ice crystals makes sense with the heat in question. True. Fuel jettisoning past the limits prescribed in the FARs is usually prevented by I don't know what a standpipe is. I'm going to go with A. Closely monitoring the fuel quantity. It's dump limit switch that will shut off the flow to the dump chute if the pressure drops below that needed to supply the engine with adequate fuel. Okay, dump limit valve. I should have known that, I guess. How may the anti-knock characteristics of fuel be improved? By adding a knock inhibitor. Fuel is moved overboard in most jettison systems by gravity and engine-driven fuel. No. Boost pumps. I knew that. I just forgot it. My boost pumps. Okay. Aircraft pressure fueling systems instructional procedures are normally placarded lower wing surface adjacent to the access door. What? No. Fuel control panel access door. Oh, man. Okay. Why are centrifugal type boost pumps used in fuel systems of aircraft operating at high altitude? To supply fuel under pressure because they are positive displacement pumps. To permit cooling. To supply fuel under pressure. That's either A or B. B. To supply fuel under pressure. That makes sense. How many engine-driven fuel pumps per engine are required for engines requiring fuel pumps? 1 for each engine. What method would be used to check for internal leakage of a fuel valve without removing the valve from the aircraft? Place the valve in the off position, drain the strainer bowl, and with boost pump on, watch to see if fuel flows to the strainer bowl. Which aircraft fuel quantity indicating system incorporates signal amplifiers? Electronic. A fuel totalizer is a component which indicates the amount of fuel in all tanks. What unit would be adjusted to change the fuel pressure warning limits? Pressure sensitive mechanism. We can see the finish line. When defueling an aircraft, which of the following must be accomplished? Always defuel outside the hangar. A transmitter and a fuel pressure warning system serves what function? It converts fluid pressure to electrical signal. What type of remote reading fuel quantity indicating system has several probes installed in each fuel tank? Direct reading, I think. No. The electronic one. Yep. Yep, the electronic one has several probes, I guess. Which procedure must be followed when defueling an aircraft with swept-back wings? Defuel the outboard wing first. Pressure refueling of aircraft is usually accomplished through at least one single-point connection. Which of the following is employed to maintain lateral stability when jettisoning fuel? To interconnected systems. What? It's A. See, I kind of thought it was A, but I think C. Okay. Okay. It's A. Two separate independent systems. What can be done to eliminate or minimize the microbial growth problem in an aircraft jet fuel tank? Use anti-icing and antibacterial additives. A fuel system must be designed to prevent fuel vapor ignition caused by lightning. Why are jet fuels more susceptible to water contamination than aviation gasoline? Because jet fuels have a higher viscosity than gasoline. What is the purpose of float-operated transmitter installed? What is the purpose of a float-operated transmitter installed in a fuel tank? It sends an electrical signal to fuel quantity indicator. Yeah. A capacitance type fuel quantity indicating system measures fuel in pounds. Why is the main fuel strainer located at the lowest point in the fuel system? It traps any small amount of water that may be present in the fuel system. Which of the following would give the first positive indication that a changeover from one fuel tank to another is needed? The flow pressure warning system. Which of the following may be used for the repair of fuel leaks on most integral fuel tanks? Riveting and resealing. Before fueling an aircraft by using the pressure fueling method, what important precaution should be observed? Well, the truck pump pressure must be correct for that refueling system. What type of fuel booster pump requires a pressure relief valve? It's riveting. It is. This whole thing is riveting. It's either sliding vane or centrifugal. Booster pump requires a pressure relief valve. I think it's sliding vane. No, I don't think it is. But I kind of do. It's... Not centrifugal. I knew it wasn't. Okay. Typical large transport aircraft fuel manifold system allows which of the following? Engines can be fed from only a specific tank. That's wrong. Oh no. In large aircraft manifold fuel systems, all tank can be serviced through a single connection. Any engine can be fed from any tank. All engines can be fed from all tanks simultaneously, and a damaged tank can be isolated from the rest of the fuel tanks, from the fuel system. Okay. Completely forgot about that. Let's see. The vapor pressure of aviation gasoline is lower than the vapor pressure of automotive gasoline. What is one disadvantage of using aromatic aviation fuels? It deteriorates rubber parts. Normal fuel cross-feed system operation of multi-aircraft. A. Calls for jettisoning of fuel overboard to correct lateral instability. Provides. It's C, right? Of course it's C. I don't know why I picked A. Normal fuel cross-feed system operation in multi-engine aircraft. We just did that. Provides means, yeah. A probe or series of probes is used in what kind of fuel quantity indicating system? Capacitor. The purpose of the baffle plate in the fuel tank is to resist fuel surging within the fuel tank. A fuel jettison system is required under certain conditions if the maximum takeoff weight exceeds, I remember this one, part 23 and 25. What precautions must be observed if a gravity-fed fuel system is permitted to supply fuel to an engine for more than one tank at a time? The tank airspaces must be interconnected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that 9? We count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I definitely got over 85. 92. I'm so happy. Can't you tell? That was great. Well, I feel defeated, even though I finished it and passed my goal. I just want to go to sleep. So yeah, that's all I've got for you today. And thanks for tuning into the stream and watching me suffer and study maxing with me. Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And y'all have a great night. A great night. Good night, fellow people. Peace.